Some people carry a strange feeling with them everywhere they go. It appears in quiet moments, when you're sitting with friends, when you're at work, even when you're surrounded by people who seem to like you. And suddenly a quiet thought appears in the back of your mind. I don't fully belong here. You might laugh with everyone, you might talk like everyone, but deep inside something feels slightly disconnected, like you're present, but not completely part of the moment. And the strange thing is, this feeling doesn't only happen with strangers. It can happen with friends, with coworkers, sometimes even with family. You start to notice something about yourself. You behave a little differently with every group of people. With some people, you become quieter. With others, you become more energetic. In another group, you act more serious. You adjust your personality without even thinking about it. At first, it seems normal. Everyone adapts socially. But over time, something strange begins to happen. You start to feel like every version of you belongs somewhere, but none of them feel completely real. So when someone says something simple like, just be yourself, it becomes a confusing idea. Because which version of yourself is the real one? The quiet one, the funny one, the responsible one, the calm one, or the one you rarely show anyone? Psychology has an interesting explanation for this experience. It often begins much earlier than people realize. Sometimes in childhood, sometimes during teenage years. When a child grows up in an environment where emotional safety is unpredictable, the brain learns something important very quickly. It learns that belonging depends on adaptation. Maybe some emotions were welcomed, but others were criticized. Maybe expressing certain thoughts caused tension. Maybe being different caused rejection. So the brain starts developing a strategy. Instead of asking, "Who am I?" it begins asking, "Who do I need to be right now?" This ability becomes a powerful survival skill. The child learns how to read people, how to sense moods, how to adjust behavior, how to avoid conflict, how to fit in. And over time, this ability becomes automatic. It happens without conscious thought. In fact, many people become extremely good at it. They become socially intelligent. They know exactly how to behave in different environments. They know what people expect. They know how to make conversations smooth. But there is a hidden cost to this skill. Because when you spend years adjusting yourself to match your surroundings, something subtle begins to fade. Your sense of a stable identity. Instead of feeling like one consistent person, you begin to feel like many different versions of yourself, each version designed for a different situation. And while this makes social life easier, it can create a quiet feeling of disconnection. You can fit into almost any group, but inside you may still feel like an observer, someone who is participating in life, but not fully rooted in it. This is why some people feel strangely alone even when they are not alone. The problem is not that others reject them. The problem is that they rarely allow themselves to exist without adjustment. Their mind keeps scanning the environment. What version of me works best here? And without realizing it, they slowly become the person everyone expects, instead of the person they naturally are. After many years, this creates a very specific emotional experience. You feel accepted, but not fully seen. People know a version of you, but not necessarily the real one. And sometimes you're not even sure what the real one is anymore. That uncertainty can create a quiet, emotional distance, like standing inside a room but behind invisible glass. You can see everyone, you can talk to everyone, but part of you still feels separate. The interesting thing is that many people who feel this way appear very socially capable. They can have friends. They can maintain relationships. They can even be popular. But internally, they carry a subtle question. If people knew the real me, would I still belong? And because that question feels risky, the mind continues doing what it has always done, adapting, adjusting, blending in. But belonging works differently than most people think. Belonging does not come from perfect compatibility. It comes from authenticity, from allowing yourself to exist without constant adjustment, from letting people see the unfiltered version of you. But that can feel uncomfortable for someone who learned early in life that safety comes from adaptation. So the brain continues using the strategy that once worked, even when it is no longer necessary. And that is why the feeling of not belonging can follow someone into adulthood. Not because they are too different, not because they are unlikable, but because they have spent so long becoming what others needed that they never had the chance to explore who they naturally are. The good news is that identity is not something fixed. It is something that slowly develops through honest experiences, through moments where you stop adjusting, through conversations where you allow yourself to be slightly imperfect, through relationships where you do not need to perform. Those moments may feel unfamiliar at first, even uncomfortable, but they are the moments where true belonging begins to grow, not because you finally fit somewhere perfectly, but because you stop trying to reshape yourself to fit every place. And something interesting happens when you do that. The right people begin to recognize you, not the version you created for them, but the real person underneath. And maybe the reason you sometimes feel like you don't belong anywhere is not because there is no place for you. Maybe it is because you spent years adapting to every room you entered. And somewhere along the way, you simply forgot that you were allowed to exist without changing yourself first.